Alright internet friends, if you have watched at least one Fenty Beauty review, you've seen the comments, I've seen the comments, of people claiming the reason you're not getting the right coverage is because you're using the wrong applicator. Well, today I'm going to put that to the test. I'm going to put two different sponges head to head as well as two different brushes, and then we're going to compare the sponge and the brush to see, do you really get different coverage? To start, we're gonna go sponge versus sponge. So the reason I didn't use either of these in my original video was just because they're quite dirty. Other than that, I personally have always found that they gave me quite similar coverage, so I didn't really even think about it. It was more just aesthetic reasons. I thought you'd rather see a clean sponge. So let's get to it. So the sponges we're going to be comparing today are the Quo Blending Sponge. This was the sponge we used in the original foundation review video. And today I'm going to be putting it up against the Real Techniques. This is the Miracle Complexion sponge, as well as Beauty Blender's original sponge. Alright, to start, I still have some of the primer sample left over, so I'm going to be using that. We're going to apply it the exact same way of applying it in the center of our face and then spreading outwards. Alright, now that we've got that pressed into our face really good, I'm going to let it sit for a couple of seconds. Alright, so I'm going to start off with the Beauty Blender. I'm going to put this one on this half of my face, so let's just jump right into that. So when I did my original video, I used one pump of foundation for each side of my face. So I'm going to do the same for this as well. So just giving it a quick look, I can definitely say this is still not full coverage. I'm going to zoom you in. You can still see my blemish down here. I can still see my freckles on my nose. My blemish there is still looking fairly pink as well. And I can still see my freckles as well along my forehead. But I'm going to quickly apply the Real Technique sponge to this side of my face. I feel like it didn't give me any coverage whatsoever on my blemishes here. You can see all the redness still throughout my cheek. So you can definitely still see the freckles all down my nose. You can still see them along the top of my forehead. But in the fairness of this foundation, it did say 1 to 2 layers for full coverage. So now that we've been able to compare one pump and one pump, I'm going to go in with a second layer. Didn't do a good job at hiding the blemish. It's still showing like it was last time. It's definitely looking cakey in certain areas. You can still see my freckles on the top of my forehead. As for my nose, I can still see the freckles down the middle of my nose and a little bit right here. I would say it's a little better coverage with 2 layers, but I still don't see full coverage. And then down here, definitely still see my blemish, as well as these guys are all showing through as well. Like, I got the same coverage for the most part, but it definitely wasn't as cakey with this one as it is with these two. My mind hasn't changed. I still think this is a light to medium coverage foundation. Using different sponges did not change my mind. I feel like it still kind of got the same result. I got the same coverage. So overall, I don't think it really matters which sponge you use. You're still gonna get that nice, pretty airbrush kind of look. So I'm not dissatisfied because I don't mind the foundation as a medium coverage, but these did not get me that full coverage that people claim that different sponges would. So to move on to the next portion, I'm going to wash this all off, and then we're going to come back and we're going to give brush versus brush a try to see if we get different coverage. For brushes today, I'm going to be comparing the Makeup Forever 122 blending brush, and we're going to be comparing that with the e.l.f. Ultimate blending brush. To start out the same way I did with sponges, I'm going to go in with the Fenty Beauty primer, and like before, we're also going to start in the middle of our face and blend this outwards. And then after that sets in, I'm going to be doing this half of my face with the e.l.f. Ultimate Blending Brush and this half with the Makeup Forever 122 blending brush. Alright, so I feel like this brush gave a really nice smooth application. However, I'm gonna say it took us in the opposite direction that we wanted to go. I think this gave a nice light coverage because you can see everything. My blemish here is showing way more than it was before. You can see the pink that was in my cheeks. You can see my blemish on my forehead, the pink that's also kind of in my forehead as well, my freckles all on the top of my forehead, down my nose, over my cheek. There is like next to no coverage with this one. Alright, so there it is with the Makeup Forever brush. I'm going to say I think these both give light coverage. You can still see my blemishes coming through over here, the pink that was kind of in my cheeks. You can also still see the freckles coming down the side of my nose, across my forehead. But anyways, we're going to give it a fair shot just like everything else, and we're going to apply a second layer on both sides to see if we can get better coverage. Alright, so it is your friend Casper the Ghost here checking in with our second layer of foundation on both sides. I have to say, I wish the brushes gave just a little bit better coverage. I feel like these are light to medium and not medium after 2 layers. I have to say, both of these brushes are so soft that putting foundation on is like a treat, so I just wish they were slightly better coverage just because I do enjoy using these more than I did enjoy using the sponge. I don't feel like there's much difference between the two. You can still see the pink and the blemish coming out quite strongly, as well as this guy here, this one as well. The second layer did definitely help cover up the redness in my cheeks a lot better. I'm pretty sure at this rate nothing is going to cover the freckles in the middle of my nose as well as the ones along my hairline. I do have to say that I feel, I'm going to zoom you in quickly, I do feel that with the brush it did cover the freckles that were over here a little bit better. Because I'm not seeing them as strongly. There's one over here that's coming through a little bit, but that's about it. And then of course these guys down here are quite strong as well as the ones that are up here. In the end I can actually see my blemish right now, right here, as well as this guy and these two right here. Other than that, I still think this foundation gives a nice airbrushed finish. I think my skin looks quite smooth. It actually feels nice and smooth right now as well. I just don't think it's full coverage. So to recap everything, I don't think using a different tool is going to give you full coverage, unfortunately. If anything, I felt like some of these gave more of a light medium coverage, some of these gave a medium coverage in the end, but there's definitely no full coverage to be found. However, saying that, I do think this still has a nice airbrush kind of flawless look to it in the end. I definitely enjoy wearing it. I'm going to keep it. I just don't think you can claim it to be a high coverage foundation. Having said that, I think the winners of this competition are the Quo and the Beauty Blender Sponges. I think these ones kind of gave the best coverage out of all of them. So for second place, I'm going to give it to the brushes. I'm gonna say I personally feel like you get the same coverage with either brush. This side was the Makeup Forever and this side was the e.l.f. blending brush. I do have to say I love using both of these brushes. This one here has a really nice soft heavenly feel to it, and this one's also nice and soft as well, but it's just a bit more denser. So this one almost feels like a pillow on your face, where this one feels like a cloud on your face. And then for third place, thank you for showing up, Real Techniques Complexion Sponge. This was not your foundation. Alright guys, leave me your comments down below of which applicator you think gave the best coverage. I had fun doing this challenge, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!